and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 27 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure you do drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look at the rules of the video. So buys are plays you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are plays you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are plays you might be thinking about removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. Let's have a look at last week's scores first of all. Okay, so last game week was a bit of a strange one. To be honest, a lot of the buys and the sells, the keeps and the voids were based around the blank game week players. So we're going to see a lot of players in the sell category who obviously didn't score any points because, well, they weren't playing. So I don't know if you really want to count game week 26 scores as really a success. In general, I actually don't think it went that well. To be fair, there's a couple of players I would say that I'm happy to have put down as keeps. You know, the likes of Edison and Solanke, I think are going to serve you well going forward. And some of those avoids there as well, I don't think are necessarily players you want to own this week anyway, aside from maybe Salah. So look, I think it's fine, it's okay, but I don't really want to take too much praise or really too much criticism for the results last week, to be fair. But yeah, maybe that's just me being a little bit lethargic about it. I'm not sure. I don't really rate these kind of pages that we're doing right now anyway. I'm more interested in looking forward and seeing what we want to do this week. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to buy some players first of all. And Neto would be the #1 goalkeeper choice I would go for at the moment. Obviously, there's some goalkeepers right now that maybe you have that you're not really happy with at the moment. Maybe Neto can be the answer to your problems. A Burnley fixture next, obviously a team that struggles to score goals. But after that, the huge double game week for Bournemouth. I know it's only Bournemouth, but Bournemouth, generally speaking, a decent defence. You know, they put up some decent defensive numbers and don't typically concede too many chances. So I do think over the next two game weeks, Neto should comfortably be the highest scoring goalkeeper in the game. Now, of course, we don't know for sure at time of recording whether Neto and Bournemouth will have a fixture in game week 29. If they do, it will be an away fixture against Wolves. We'll find out more information about that shortly. So guys, make sure before you commit to any transfer plans, you are waiting for the game week 29 blank news basically. But I do think Neto and Bournemouth are a solid defence to invest in over the next couple of weeks. Even after the blank, we are looking at some nice fixtures there as well. Everton at home in game week 30, for example. And as for our defenders, you could go for Senesi, but I'm actually going to back Saliba in this category. I know a lot of you guys already have Gabriel. If you don't, you buy him. If you do have Gabriel, I think it's a good time actually to invest in the Arsenal defence and double up there because Sheffield United is going to be a fantastic opportunity for a team that is proving to be solidly the best defence in the Premier League. 3.59 expected clean sheets in the last 5 games for Arsenal. That is incredible numbers when you consider the likes of Liverpool were in that run of fixtures. So in Newcastle, you know, 2 top goal-scoring teams, even though Newcastle maybe not great defensively, they're a team that scores goals still. So I do think Arsenal certainly a defence that we could double up on because right now, looking around the Premier League, there's not really too many defenders we really love at the moment. So maybe Arsenal just doubling up, getting those 2 Arsenal defenders and maybe using that goalkeeper slot and that 3rd defender slot for other random players pretty much could be the solution to the rest of the season. So I'm backing Saliba as the defender to buy this week. If you're going to buy a new midfielder this week, I would say Heung-min Son has to be very, very high on your priority list. It's going to be very, very nice to have him back in the Premier League. We know what he can do. We know what a powerful FPL asset he has proven to be so far this season. Now, fair enough, in more recent weeks, we may have forgotten just how good he has been because of him, you know, going off to the Asian Cup not so long ago and then only really returning for a couple of game weeks, well, maybe 1.5 game weeks before, again, another blank for Spurs. So it's been a long time since we've seen Son consistently in the Premier League, but now he's going to be back against Crystal Palace at home. This is going to be a fantastic opportunity for him. We expect him to be back on penalties. We expect him to getting plenty of chances in the box using his incredible finishing ability to outperform whatever numbers he can produce in these upcoming fixtures. And guess what? Son, if you're a game week 29 manager who wants to navigate 29 without the use of a chip, guess what? Son has a fixture in game week 29 and it's against Fulham. So a real strong captaincy candidate for game week 29 as well is Heung-min Son. So incredible pick that really is going to be useful for no matter what your plan is, no matter what your strategy is. I think Son, you know, solves everyone's problems no matter what. And Solanke, again, another player just like Neto. We'd be looking for him for the next 2 game weeks in particular, but definitely a player we can hold on for the long term. His numbers are really strong. 3.78 expected goals in his past 5 game weeks with 0.42 expected assists there as well. He has been slightly underperforming, but he has been reasonably consistent this season, and I think he is going to go into these next 2 fixtures and just become the man. man, the guy, and a player you do not want to miss out on. Now, I don't think Solanke is an absolute must-buy this game week, but if you are going to go for a forward, make it Solanke, because believe me, by the time we hit game week 28, you are going to need to have this player in your team, and you're going to want to captain him as well, because that double game week next week is incredible. It really, really is. You do not get much better than Sheffield United and Luton Town, both at home in a double game week. These are the things that dreams are made of, and if only we get a Haaland or a Salah in a double game week like that, that would be incredible, but fortunately not going to happen. Solanke is decent enough to really capitalise on that situation, and really a player you can afford to hold pretty much for the rest of the season. But again, be aware of game week 29 and how you're going to navigate that if you do buy players like Solanke, although I would argue no matter what, you buy Solanke regardless of whether you end up having an additional blanking player in 29. It doesn't matter. Solanke is that much worth going for right now. Dubravka could be a goalkeeper to sell this game week. We've finally seen him dropped out of the Newcastle United team. Did it improve Newcastle against Arsenal? I don't know if it did or not, to be honest, guys. But still, there's definitely suddenly a rotation concern here that we have with Dubravka, which might make it easier in life to just remove him from the team and focus on other goalkeepers right now. Because, let's be honest, even if Dubravka does play, he is going to continue to concede so many goals. Newcastle, comfortably the worst defence in the Premier League now. They really are conceding a barrel load of goals every single game week. We just do not want a goalkeeper who is conceding that many goals, even if he can make a couple of saves to make up for it. Dubravka, it's time to give up on him in FPL terms, unfortunately, which is a shame. He looked like he could be too good to be true as a starting goalkeeper for that kind of price. Well, as is often the case, if it seems too good to be true, maybe it is. And Estupiñán, another player who is constantly causing headaches in our teams at the moment. And I will say this every single game week. What if Estupiñán plays? What if? Imagine if he does. You know, we could be looking at clean sheets. We could be looking at attacking returns. But the real situation is that Estupiñán, every game week, is causing us more problems than he is solving. And I think even if you do get the best case scenario from keeping him and you end up getting a few points from him, well, I mean, he's just going to cause you more problems and more headaches the following week anyway. So I think it might just be time to cut the cord on Estupiñán. Just accept that this pick was just not the one and remove him from our teams. I'm sure a lot of you guys have done that already, but for those of you who haven't, I would say Estupiñán is a pretty easy sell this game week, no matter what your strategy is going into the upcoming fixtures. Because even after these next two game weeks, you know, say we somehow get a game week 29 fixture from Brighton, we probably won't. But after that, Brighton's fixtures are terrible. They really are horrendous from game week, game week 29 would be against City anyway. So from game week 29, no matter what happens, Brighton's fixtures are going to be horrible. So just get rid of him now. Like, these are your last two opportunities to get some points from him. It's probably not going to happen anyway because he's clearly not first choice anymore. Time to get rid. Now, our midfielder sell was actually really tough this week. Really tough, because I think there are so many good midfielders in the game at the moment, and most of the midfielders you guys own are decent. And Garnacho, you know, he definitely has his benefits, being 5 million, a super cheap option there. It's definitely advantageous in many ways, but if you have Garnacho, are you going to play him this week? Probably not. You're probably going to bench him. Are we going to get a fixture against Sheffield United? Well, we don't know yet. We don't know, but definitely Garnacho, another one of those players. I would not rush to sell him. I'd wait until after Wednesday to get the final results from the FA Cup to see for sure if players that we expect to blank, like Garnacho, actually will. I think there is a good chance that Man United do have a fixture in Game Week 29, but it's certainly not guaranteed. But the big problem is, Garnacho is just not one of those optimal midfielders right now. And there's so many good midfielders going round at the moment. And I feel like those Manchester United midfielders maybe are not really going to be the main guys to go for at the moment. So, yeah, unfortunately, after last game week, seeing how poor Manchester United looked with a tough game against Manchester City this week, if we have to sell some kind of midfielder, I guess Garnacho makes sense as a kind of midfielder to sell, but I appreciate that you guys are probably going to have bigger issues in your team. I don't think Garnacho is a must sell. I just don't really know who else to put in this category, to be honest, guys. So let me know who you would sell out of the midfielders, because I can't really think of anything better right now. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Alvarez, finally, he didn't start a game. So yeah, I know a lot of people have been saying, yeah, Dan, I'm not selling Alvarez. He plays every game. That's good enough for me. Well, we haven't even got that anymore. So yeah, finally, can we say that maybe Alvarez is not the player to own. I mean, come on, guys. Look at these fixtures, man. Man United, Liverpool, this game against Brighton probably is not going to happen. And then Arsenal after that. Man City don't have great fixtures coming up, let's be totally honest. And there's clearly 3 forwards you want in FPL right now. And that is Haaland, Solanke and Watkins. You'd maybe throw Tony into that conversation as well, but where's Alvarez going to go? He probably doesn't even make top 5, maybe not even top 10 forwards to own in FPL at the moment. So he is going to be a very easy player to sell, in my opinion. And if you've held on to him for this long, it is time to go for Alvarez. There's just too many far superior forward options to go for right now, and by holding Alvarez you are going to lose out on the points from all of those other forwards that we just mentioned. Now Areola is probably another one of those goalkeepers who owners have just not been happy with recently. However, I do think that I would hold on to him. I think you just look at these next 2, maybe 3 game weeks. You look at Everton and Burnley. Even a poor West Ham defence, and they are a poor defence at the moment, at least you've got a chance. You know, if you're playing the fixtures, which you should do when you're picking goalkeepers and defenders, this looks okay, right? And in Gameweek 29, Aston Villa, at least is a guaranteed fixture there for Areola as well. So this is actually not so bad. If we're looking at goalkeepers right now, it is tough to pick a player. Neto probably is the standout player right now that you go for. But if you think that maybe a goalkeeper transfer is not a priority for you right now, you've got other transfers that you want to make, I think it's absolutely fine to keep Areola. Now, would I expect points from him this game week? Not necessarily, no, but I don't think he's, you know, that much worse of an option than anyone you'd really be bringing in right now, aside from maybe Neto. So I would be looking to keep Areola this game week. I think you could probably make more points up from using your transfers elsewhere on your pitch. And the doggy I'm going to throw in the keep category as well. Similar situation, having a fixture in Game Week 29 is pretty nice. This Crystal Palace game is pretty nice as well. And what I can tell you is even though a doggy is currently flagged on the FPL website, he has been in light training from last week. So there's a very good chance that a doggy is going to be back this game week. So you're going to have him against Crystal Palace and you're going to have him against Fulham in Game Week 29 as well. So again, very much strategy dependent on whether you want to keep players from Spurs or not. Maybe you want to buy players from Spurs, but actually a doggy I think is a reasonably good pick at the moment. And if you are planning on going into Game Week 29 without using a free hit chip, a doggy is probably going to be one of the better players to own for that game week, or at least one of the better defenders to own, because his numbers are pretty good as well. When you compare him to Porro, who's probably going to be out for a little bit longer, who has worse numbers as well, a doggy I really do not think he's too bad. A goal and an assist in his last 3 games. He's played 3 in his last 5, of course. Not too bad underlying numbers either. I think he's an okay pick. A little bit cheaper than Porro as well. So, yeah, overall, I think if you have a doggy already, I would be holding on to him. De Bruyne is going to be the controversial keep of the video, because I think a lot of people will be looking to move De Bruyne on after his 0-pointer last game week. Got some minutes off the bench, and then he got a yellow card. Really, really tragic times for De Bruyne owners. But if you didn't sell him last game week with that news that he would be benched, well, I think I would hold on to him, to be honest, because Manchester United, like I said, did look a little bit weaker last game week against Fulham. And I get the impression that if Man United were playing against a better team last game week, they could have been really, really damaged. And De Bruyne is very much a big game player, always performs in those big games. So could he be the kind of guy who actually does some significant damage against a team like Manchester United? Is this the kind of fixture where De Bruyne turns up and gets a 15-pointer? Well, actually, it kind of is. Of course, we do need to make sure he is actually going to play first of all. So, of course, as always, we will be keeping our ears to the walls and trying to predict whether he will play or not. Seeing if we can get some early team news or not. If De Bruyne is predicted to be benched again, then, look, fair enough, he is going to be a sell. But if we think it's likely he's going to start, and I get the impression that he was rested for these last couple of games, so he can play against Manchester United and Liverpool, because these are the huge games for Manchester City, really. If he does play, I think these are actually fixtures that suit him. As a big game player who always performs in those big moments, this is the kind of games you actually want him for, rather than necessarily some of the smaller games, I guess. And we're going to put Tony in the keep category as well. I know he's probably not in the big 3 forwards at the moment, but I think he's pretty close and actually got predicted quite high points against Chelsea. Obviously a penalty taker, reasonably good underlying numbers there, taking plenty of shots in and around the box on some free kicks as well, which is useful. I just think he's a player that, you know, you probably can be happy to own. I mean, Chelsea, not exactly a fantastic defence at the moment as well. It's a home fixture. Brentford, weak in defence, but strong in attack at the moment. I wonder if Tony could actually do some damage and maybe outscore the likes of maybe a Solanke this week. And maybe after this game week, if you're not worried about game week 29, a Tony to Solanke move could be on for game week 28. But I think I would be very tempted to hold him this game week. On to some avoids. Yeah, we're going to put some very high-scoring players recently in the avoids category, starting off with Edison. Now, obviously, he's been doing very well recently. Clean sheets have finally been coming Manchester City's way, which is fantastic, and he's been making some saves as well, has he? So, yeah, actually, Edison, if you've owned him recently, fantastic news. And he'd be a player I would probably keep this game week if I had him. But if you are looking for a new goalkeeper, you don't own Edison yet, I don't think I would be buying him for this run of fixtures. Manchester United, you know, in a derby game, you're never quite sure what's going to happen. Liverpool away after that, and Arsenal at home after a probable blank game week. It's not a great run of 4 fixtures for Man City, particularly when we're looking at the defenders there. I would not really be going near the Manchester City defence or goalkeeper at the moment. It just doesn't really seem worth it. Again, playing those fixtures a little bit with the defensive players, it's just not going to happen. Over the, you know, how many clean sheets are we realistically expecting in the next 4 game weeks? 1, maybe? Not good enough, is it, for a 5.5 million goalkeeper? And Lewis Dunk is going to go in the avoid category as well. 2 goals and an assist in recent game weeks, but just 2 clean sheets all season kind of means that Brighton have been struggling a little bit. Now, this is going to be one of those picks where actually I don't mind him for this game week. He's not actually a player who I hate for this game week or even next game week, really. So, yeah, when we come to next game week and we do the review section and you guys will say, I can't believe you said to avoid Lewis Dunk, he's just scored 6 points for a clean sheet. I will turn around and say, well, okay, that's great, but he's probably not going to play in game week 29. And like we spoke about with Estupinian, the fixtures from game week 29 onwards are horrible. They're terrible. They really are. And you'll be looking to sell Lewis Dunk probably after 2 game weeks. Is there really any point in buying him for 2 game weeks? Really? Defenders are, you know, just not a position we want to be spending too many transfers on, really, because it's just kind of not working for most of those defenders. So, yeah, Lewis Dunk is certainly not a long-term solution to anyone's problems and not really a player I'd be looking to go near, to be honest. So, yeah, he could score well in the next couple of game weeks. He could. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, yeah, there's potential there, but after that the potential is practically 0. So yeah, if you're really looking for a short-term punt, fair enough, but if you're not a pick for me, unfortunately. He will be an avoid. Jared Bowen, very strong score in game week 26 with the hat-trick against Brentford, but I have a feeling he might be a trap for this game week. Everton away is not an easy fixture. Everton, pretty strong defence, don't usually concede more than 1 goal. Maybe they concede 2 goals against some of the very strong teams. But West Ham, I'm just not sure they are that yet. Now, granted, for Bowen, I think with Kudus back, with Paqueta back, it is going to improve Bowen as an FPL asset. And I kind of did like the transfer last game week. If you're talking about selling a Jota for Bowen, kind of like it. If you still have a Jota now and you want to sell him for Bowen, try and prep for game week 29. Again, I actually kind of like it. However, for most players, if you've already got rid of a Jota, who are you going to be selling for Bowen? Because I look through the most popular midfielders right now, with De Bruyne we already spoke about, but you know, the likes of Foden or Saka or Hwang Hee-chan or maybe even Gordon, you know, would we be looking to sell these players for Bowen against Everton away when Bowen really has had 1 anomaly game and the rest of recent game weeks has been, you know, really producing nothing, not even looking close to getting good FPL returns, like for weeks and weeks and weeks, possibly even months. That's not good enough. So, yes, 1 game week is fantastic. And like I say, if you went from last game week, or if you still have a Jota and you're looking to prep for game week 29, I don't mind Bowen. I don't mind, you know, players like Douglas Luiz if you want to go there as well. You know, maybe James Ward-Prowse, Bailey, maybe. But right now, this game week, when I look at the kind of midfielders people are looking to sell for Bowen, I don't really like it. Don't really like it, to be honest, guys. So, yeah, in general, I think Bowen's going to be a bit of a trap this game week, and I think I would hold on maybe 1 more game week before diving into Bowen. If it's possible to hold on 1 more game week, I would. Stick with what you got. There's some really nice picks. You know, Cole Palmer, even if you have him, so many players that I just think will outscore Bowen this week in midfield. Up front, Darwin Nunez. He is actually surprisingly popular pick this game week, considering he has got a yellow Dorito of death next to his name. Not even on the bench in the League Cup final. And I do wonder if he is going to be rested just this one more game before the Man City at home game, because Liverpool have struggled with injuries recently and rushing back players has caused some problems, as we know. So is this Nottingham Forest away game really the kind of game you want to be resting Darwin when we've got Man City the following game week? I'm not sure that it is. So I do think that we might see a potential rest here. If he does start, maybe he could get some points. I don't think he gets anywhere near 90 minutes personally. Liverpool fans, you will have to let me know what you think about that as well. But the fact that, you know, he is going to be real rotation risk this game week, and he is just not one of those, you know, forwards that, you know, we're speaking about time and time again. Watkins, Solanke, Haaland, these three, you're going to have to sacrifice one of those three if you go for Darwin. And that could cause some real pain if you find out that Darwin doesn't start this weekend. So, yeah, not really feeling this pick. And I would say that Darwin is an avoid. To summarise, guys, do not make transfers. I know sometimes I go on about this a little bit too much, but I really do mean it this game week, guys. I really do mean it. Early transfers, just not the one. You need to figure out a chip strategy before you make transfers this week, because your transfers now will really impact how you navigate game week 29. And I think we should be committing to a plan now and going with the best plan for us and using our transfers to further commit to that plan. We are not going to get blank game week information until Wednesday evening. And by the way, on Wednesday evening, well, by Thursday morning more likely, I'm going to be doing an all-nighter to make sure we figure out exactly what is going on and likely doubles and blanks for the rest of the entire season, and go through some chip strategies there as well. So this is going to be real crucial information, and your transfer this game week is going to be part of that. So do not make early transfers this week. I cannot stress this enough. It really isn't the game week to make early transfers. It really isn't, because so much can change in the space of the next 48 hours. It really could. So guys, that's all I'm going to say on that one. Make sure you drop a like before you disappear, would be massively appreciated. Do subscribe if you are new around here. I think I'm actually going to do a team selection video tomorrow, because I've got some rough ideas of what I want to do, and I want to share that with you guys. So yeah, videos are going to be a little bit all over the place this week, but it's all to do with that Wednesday night FA Cup games and what we discover from them. So crucial. So excuse the messy game week of content, but it's just the way it's got to be done. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out the tier list video from yesterday if you feel like it, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.